Yay! Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Newbie Star Trek. My name is Marvin, and as always, I am joined here by Dan and the self-described newbie, Ricardo.
Hey,
what's up, guys?
It's a newbie.
If you guys haven't watched the show before, the basic premise is that Dan and I have watched. Dan and I have some basic understanding of Star Trek by having seen TNG before, because we're going through the Next Generation right now. Whereas Ricardo has only, aside from the episodes we've already watched, of course, has only accidentally watched Data Lore. Everything else he has not seen, and it's actually been kind of fascinating watching what characters have become his favorites. Some theories that have come up. It's actually interesting.
A lot of theories.
Yeah.
Many of which I don't even know the conclusion to.
Yeah. I particularly enjoyed that time travel theory he came up with and where no one has gone before. I kind of wish that's what actually happened. But that's not what happened. He's just a traveling pedophile.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
Porque no los dos.
Yeah. Don't worry.
Wesley becomes a traveling pedophile for himself.
Yeah, see? It's autoeroticism.
That's it. That is the ultimate narcissistic thing to do.
Yeah. Is he just masturbating at that point? Like, we don't really know.
I'd say it's a variation thereof.
Yeah. It's all about consent.
And come on, just like
Wesley
Gene Roddenberry totally would have gone back in time to fuck himself.
For sure.
I know everything about Gene Roddenberry.
This is an explicit podcast, everyone. In case
we got the E on the thing.
It's true.
You put the E on. We have to
use
use it.
Yeah, get the
use
E
the E on it.
Yeah, how WWF said, "Get the F out." Well, we put the E in.
Yeah.
Also, if you guys have been enjoying the podcast, how about you can head on over to Apple Podcasts. As far as I can tell, it's the only podcast portal that actually has ratings. And maybe you give us a rating. Tell us how you think we're doing. I think you have to go to iTunes.
I think we're at least a solid 3-star right now.
Yeah, we're all right. I think we're doing okay. If you've been listening, I hope we've been entertaining you guys. And if you've been liking it, you have some feedback, put it on the Apple Podcasts portal and iTunes. Well, anyway, this week's episode is Lonely Among Us, which is, as Dan kind of pointed out last week, it is a potential, subterfuge and espionage and bullshit's happening. Who can blah 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 blah.
Yeah. Just like the popular video game upon which this episode is based. From the future.
Yes, it is. It is directly based on that. So
yeah, man. I don't know if you've ever played the game before, but you're assigned a bunch of tasks. And
I've actually never played it before. Yeah.
Well, it's basically you go around like a ship doing stuff. And
I didn't even know you're on a ship.
Yeah, see, it's totally the basis for this episode.
Retroactively. Well, anyway, this episode aired on November 2nd, 1987, which is 2 days after Halloween. Mm-hmm. Dan, did anything interesting happen around that time? Please let us know.
I would say that the most interesting thing that I could dig up about this particular date is that both George Harrison and Paul McCartney released albums on this exact same day.
Oh,
George Harrison had Cloud 9, but McCartney's was just a compilation album called All the Best. So
it wasn't like a competition. It was more
like a greatest hits versus new stuff. And I also found in a news summary from the New York Times around that era is that following the previous week's stock market crash, a quote, a spirit of revenge on yuppies had emerged in the wake of the previous week's stock market plunge. And many people were seemingly taking consolation in the fact that it was kind of screwing up those rich pricks, despite, the market crashing around them. So I just thought it was a funny thing from the news of the time.
That's happened like 5 times in this presidency alone.
Yeah.
This has been a very stable presidency. It's been very stable. Like
stable
Star
and genius.
Trek.
Yep. Yeah, nothing to see here.
Yeah, all right, right back into the politics.
I'm sorry.
By the way, look. If you're easily offended by political jokes, you're not gonna like this episode. I have so many.
Also, it's Star Trek, which is the whole point of Star Trek is progressive politics.
Yeah,
so it's kind of true. Like if you're conservative but love Star Trek, you need to figure some stuff out.
Yeah, I feel like you're on the path towards figuring some progressive stuff out. If you're like into Star Trek, you just need to start connecting some dots.
Like,
I think,
does that mean your favorite characters are the Ferengi? What?
or the Klingons? Or the Romulans. You're very into the Romulans being a very enclosed secular society. That's your thing, and you're always wondering why can't they win?
Like when Worf makes a suggestion, you go, "Yeah, do that.
Yeah, shit, kill him. Everyone die with honor." That's
shoot that screen. You have that right.
All right. Well, Lonely Among Us, which was kind of like a weird one in terms of that there's technically like a B plot. But the B plot has almost no relevance at all. There's
What's funny is that by the end, they are literally playing up death as a joke.
Yeah, it's super odd. Like, you think it's going to be like a metaphor for something, the B plot? But it's nothing.
They use, they just sprinkle in a race war.
Yeah, there's literally a race war happening
that results in a fucking
Enterprise. Death. Yeah, with someone cooking them.
Cannibalism.
Apparently that was a huge controversy when the episode came out. The show apparently got super low ratings because people were like, cannibalism is happening on Star Trek. What's going on? And people were freaking out. And it's like, why did you do that? That had no bearing in the episode at all.
Wait a minute. Cannibalism? How?
Well, I think they didn't like quite understand that like it's aliens eating another alien, but they were just like, it's humanoids eating other humanoids. It's like, what's going on?
Pish posh, we've all eaten chimpanzee. Haven't we?
Well, yeah, I guess so. We have.
Ricardo he's a fine gourmand. He has tasted many
meats.
Many a chimp.
Yeah.
Anyway, Ricardo.
Yes.
What did you think of the episode? Could you please?
Okay. I thought it was very interesting. But strap in. Here we go. They're Lonely Among Us. Boom. We open up. Fucking new uniforms, guys.
Oh yeah. The formal dress uniforms. Yeah.
For what? I don't know. They take them off right away. So it's not like hey, welcome to the ship. Boom. Now
I think it's literally just we wore the equivalent of a suit and tie.
This had never happened before. They had met other people.
That's absolutely true. Yeah.
I don't like this new rule. Got to change their clothes. I wonder if they it came down like, dude, people are complaining. The Ferengi are complaining that we're just very casual.
They just wear spandex all the time. Why aren't they wearing actual clothes?
What is it called? What's the whole the whole of the I was going to say Enterprise.
The Federation?
The Federation. That's
yeah.
The Federation
of planets.
Word came down. Federation said, we got to start wearing these crazy pajama uniforms now. Because they don't like it, how casual we are. Right off the bat, we got new uniforms, and then we're dealing with two new species. At least to me, I had never seen them before. They're new to me.
You'll never see them again.
Yeah, they're the lizard people and the rat people.
The Anticans and the Selay.
The Selay are the lizard-looking people. They look like weird, like
and
cobras.
The Anticans are the Fu Manchu dogs.
Yeah, they look like kind of like Splinter. So Splinter is a mutated rat. Now imagine Splinter had a baby, and then that baby got mutated. That's what these guys would look like. The Anticans are baby Splinters that have been mutated yet again. Yeah. So it's like Splinter squared.
Yeah. And the Selay are just
Splinters are pretty small already, but damn.
Yeah.
And the Selay are basically like, here are like gray aliens, but let's make them lizards. That's kind of what they look like.
Yeah. So we meet these two people, and they hate each other. There's a race war going on, and they're like, put us upwind from the Anticans.
Yeah.
And they have, and
because there's wind on the ship.
Yeah, I know. That's what I thought. Like,
and that's why when they're welcomed aboard, they're like, we're gonna like petition these guys to join the Federation.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
these guys are Trumpers.
I also think it's kind of
they are. So anyway,
I just want to point out real quick.
Yeah.
Why like they're going to like a moderation planet named Parliament.
Yeah.
Like, they're just going to Parliament.
I imagine
we have negotiations. Let's go to Parliament.
It's literally the neutral planet from Futurama, where they're like, I feel nothing strongly about the matter at all.
I think this planet has a lot of funk playing in the background.
Sounds good.
A lot of Parliament. So you got these weird rat people and lizard people, and they're like, yeah, we hate each other. And then they're greeted in the holodeck, and they're like, all right, let's change uniforms. So everybody changes uniforms, and they're back on the bridge, and then they suddenly approach this weird like fart cloud in the air.
But before we get to that, I just wanted to point out a weird thing that Riker said. He said that he never understood the baseless hostility like between races, prejudice essentially.
Oh yeah, it's
but he says like I didn't understand it even when studying human history, and then Picard like weirdly brings up all these things that divide the races.
I have the line right here. I actually picked it out because it seemed like a very specific political call out.
Yes.
But do you understand the basis of all this nonsense between them?
No, sir. I never understood that sort of hostility even when I studied Earth history.
Really? Oh, yes. Well, these life forms feel such passionate hatreds over matters of custom, God concepts, even, strangely enough, economic systems.
Right now he's winking at the camera.
Get it? Capitalism versus communism? Get it?
Get it? The weird thing about it is that Picard started listing all these things that divided these two races as though it wasn't part of Earth history that Riker had already studied.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I think Riker is like, how could we ever have been that stupid?
Yeah, well, it's like Picard forgot history. It's like, well, these guys, they're crazy. Nothing like us.
Well,
wait, we did what?
The thing is, if we were all taught in American schools, which are notoriously known for whitewashing the shit out of history. So why wouldn't they do it? I mean, like, it's just like, don't worry, humans were fine. They did a couple bad things, but they're fine. Don't worry. It's all these crazy antigons. Oh God,
do you think the Federation only teaches like this horribly like sterilized version of
for sure
all history?
For sure. Yeah. And so you got these guys back on the bridge, and man, this episode gets really funny. Then they get to the fart cloud, and then like they pass through it, or they're like in it, and all of a sudden they're like, well, let's study it. Let's run some tests. Let's figure out what's going on, man. So Worf and Geordi are like making all these like tests for this fart cloud, and all of a sudden Worf gets shocked because the entity that's in the clouds is now in the ship. And then it goes from the ship to the circuit boards, and then it shocks Worf. But Worf
I like
lets
to track the strength of his reaction because this time, well, okay, like the reactions that people have to being inhabited by this entity vary wildly.
Oh yeah.
But first off, Worf, he just flies backward and does just a magnificent
slams into the console kind of painfully.
First it's a
true.
His teeth are like gaping wide open.
Yeah.
It's what I call the Total Recall Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And then he flails a bit, and then he throws himself away from the console and just is laying there.
Yeah.
And so they call Dr. Crusher, and they take him away, and then
No, wait, hold on. What's great is that when they revive him, he starts immediately attacking everyone, and they, without missing a beat, they just restrain him some more, and then they take him away, as though this happens all the time.
You're like, oh,
well, they're just like, he's Klingon. He'll fly off the handles.
Yeah.
It's great because he throws a guy they're demonstrating his strength. Like he throws a guy across the room from a lying down position, and then for some reason when Geordi like does like a crossbody splash on him, like that'll like sustain him for some reason.
Well, Worf has a lot of respect for the handicap. So he's like, I'm not gonna hit this blind guy. I can't fucking hit.
He's like, that's not honorable.
Yeah,
exactly.
He can't fight back. Yeah, he shows his strength, and then they restrain him. They take him to the medical bay, and then Dr. Crusher is doing these weird tests, and she's wearing the Cerebro X-Men hat to do her test.
/ scouter.
Yeah,
it's also a scouter.
Yeah. / eventually villains headsets that other villains will wear.
Ooh,
I guess it does look somewhat like that. Yeah.
And then she's like doing some weird test on Worf, and then he wakes up and he has no idea. He's like, oh, where was I? What's going on here? And they're like, what do you mean? Like, he can't remember shit. So clearly we know. And it's funny, they've already experienced this, like having like, oh, well, remember that time we were drunk and like they've experienced all these things, and yet they're like, that's normal. He doesn't remember shit. That's fine. Let's move on. and then all of a sudden the entity is now in Dr. Crusher.
Mm-hmm.
This episode's a lot of things, and one thing it is it's the Fallen of Star Trek episodes. Do you guys remember Fallen, the movie with Denzel Washington, where that serial killer? So like they execute a serial killer, and his like spirit keeps going from body to body, and they can never track him down.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's crazy because it's Denzel in a horror movie, and it's really well done.
That's an interesting setup. I've never even seen him.
But yeah, so like the spirit of the serial killer goes from body to body, and that's kind of like the first thing I thought was like, Fallen, got it. no Denzel in this one though. And so now the doctor has it. She's the one who's fallen, as I call it. And she's like, they're like, oh, doctor, what, blah, 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 blah. They're asking her some questions, and she's like, well, I don't know. Let's run some further tests. Like, she clearly doesn't know what the fuck's going on, but she knows where she lives because she goes back to her like quarters where Wesley's hanging out, and like
she just vaguely understands a little bit, but not that much.
Yeah, which is this kind possessing entity has very like, I don't know. It has a strange ability to utilize the knowledge of who it inhabits, but only somewhat.
I wonder if it's more like the Sunken Place. I mean, where you're there and you could do certain things. Like he's like, I'm gonna let her go to her quarters, but I'm still in control. Kind of thing.
Maybe, or maybe it's just this. It's just the writers saying this is convenient.
Yeah. And so she goes to her quarters, and Wesley's like doing these weird like school stuff on like warp drives and stuff, and she takes an interest in it. And clearly, we've established she's a deadbeat mom. When she was gonna die a couple episodes ago,
can you blame her?
Instead of holding her child, she just chose to hold Picard's fucking hand,
her lover's hand.
Yeah, and
can you blame her?
That's true. We can't.
Picard is a very handsome motherfucker.
Yeah, there's that, and also there's fucking Wesley as your son. Like, what?
Yeah,
what choice is there?
So she shows interest, and he's like, oh, you're showing interest. Oh, mommy loves me. And he's all excited to show her all this stuff because what he doesn't know is that nope, she's still a deadbeat mom. She's been possessed. That's why she's showing interest.
And then she walks away.
She's like, nah, not interested in that other bullshit. So she goes to the bridge, and she's asking for like access to like this science computer. Yeah, it's the helm. And then Picard's like, yeah, sure. Just use one of our computers. No problem, man. And she goes to use a computer. And then she's like, no, use this one. What are you doing, you idiot? And she goes and she uses a science computer. And then like, she's like, oh. And then all of a sudden, like she, like the entity zaps out of her and into the computer. And then she wakes up. She's like, oh, where am I? And this is what I hate about this episode is no one goes, man, that was weird. I was literally helping Worf, and now I'm here. What the fuck happened? Like no one tells the truth.
Pause and see.
Like the fog of their memory, or their like, I don't know. Like they come to, but they are never confused enough.
Yeah, and they don't think like a lot of weird shit happens on the Enterprise. We should assess the situation that just happened.
Yes,
this is not
exactly.
Yes.
Remember when we were drunk or when we were thinking and manifesting things on the ship?
Yeah,
we should assess
something
this
similar is happening right now.
Yeah,
we should probably
Even if it's not, hey, let's take stock of what's happening. I just woke up and I'm touching buttons over here. I don't know what the fuck's going on. And then they're like, "Oh, okay, let's keep an eye on
I mean,
this."
how many damn problems start with someone's in sick bay?
Yeah. She should really be wearing some PPE to like make sure things don't happen to
We
her.
established this in episode 3.
But they never do. She never does. I don't know. There was one thing I do like about that particular scene though, which is that like Gates McFadden, who plays Beverly Crusher, she usually has like, because I think they just naturally did. She had very good chemistry with Jean-Luc Picard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's just a good moment of acting where this is like the first time in the series where they're in the same scene together and it feels awkward and unusual and uncomfortable. And it's something that isn't like that easy to get across when two actors already have good chemistry. So I feel like she was doing a very good job there of coming across as weird. I think more so than most of the other characters that ended up getting possessed, because Worf is basically he was just angry. It's just what he is.
There isn't much modification to his general behavior, but
just yelling.
But Beverly, like Gates McFadden, did this good job of like staring intensely into space.
Yeah, she was very good at like just having 1,000-yard stare and just like going, "I'm not sure what's going on," but you know,
props to her.
Yeah, it's a good acting moment. Yeah.
And then she's like, "Where am I? Oh, I'm gonna go to my quarters. I don't feel right." And then no one's like, "Well, that was fucking weird. She was being all spacey, and like now like she doesn't know where she's at. Let's fucking restrain her. Maybe she's got that erotic disease where she's gonna try to fuck Data. Let's restrain her before she does that." And then and she gets some sort of fucking android STD. And then they just let her go.
Cyber herpes.
Yeah, dude. That stuff you can't cure, dude. And then
Norton cannot help you.
Yeah, exactly. And then everything starts going wrong. Like they slow down. They come out of warp speed, and they're basically like cruising at the speed of like a fucking Miata. And and they're not going to make the what is this called? Parliament. They're not going to make it to the Parliament thing.
Right.
And they're like, "We're fucked, dude. Something's going wrong." They shouldn't go wrong because this is a brand new. This is a BMW of ships. This shouldn't be happening. A lot of car lingo going on. I'm sorry. And
it's not a British car. This is a German car. Why would it be breaking down now?
Exactly. So they're like, "What's going on? This is fucking weird. It's weird as shit." And then they call a meeting of all like the department heads, as I call them, and they're all. And sadly, like the tech guy, I was like, is this racial stereotyping that the like the equivalent of IT on the ship is an Indian guy? Singh? I was like, fucking
yes.
Yeah,
that's a big yes.
Yeah,
okay.
He's the warp core guy.
Yeah. And so they're like, "What's going on?" And he's like, "Man, we don't know what's going on. These systems don't speak to each other. This should be happening."
Mm-hmm.
And Luke's answer is like, "Okay. Well, I want this figured out." It's like, yeah, what do you think we're doing, you fucking idiot? You think we're just hanging out, just going like, "Hey, how do we burn time? We're not going to fix this thing." Like, it's a weird, like, that was a weird scene. I didn't know why we needed it.
I mean, it's like, I get that Picard wants an assessment, but his own crew is just telling him that, I don't know. We already, we would have told you if we knew. It's not like we're not trying the other, it's like a bad producer telling you, well, why not? Why can't we do it better?
Yeah.
It just can't. You shot the footage wrong, etc. You know,
you're the idiot. It's the guy in charge.
It's just that like lazy boss dialogue move. It's like, well, it's gonna take 8 hours. You have 4.
Yeah, it's like, way.
Okay.
You're like,
I'll see you. I'll see you, Nate.
I'm not gonna be done.
Yeah.
Computers only go so fast, sir.
Okay. Come see me in 4 and I'll tell you we have 4 hours left. And then it cuts to the scene that is crazy. It like is so apropos of what's happening today. You cut to the Antikins, and then Yara's like, "We found this weapon. They had this weapon, and they were heading towards the Soleil's like wing of the ship." Mm-hmm. And they're like, "Those are not guns. They're not weapons. They're tools. They're tools to cook food and to kill the animals we're going to eat." And it's very much this scene boils down to this. Well, someone is causing trouble on the ship. Like, with these weapons or not, someone's causing trouble. And then they quickly go to, well, you can't judge us by a few bad apples. Like, that's what it boils down to. You can't judge us by a few bad apples. Look, yeah, we've killed a couple of Soleil, But you can't judge us by a couple bad apples. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? These are not guns. They're tools.
Yeah. You think that's going to be more of what the B plot's going to go into as well?
Exactly.
Like, you think it's going to be like, because there's that scene, like, here's a scene where everyone gathers in Picard's quarters and then Data learns about Sherlock while they're talking about breaking stuff down.
If the Enterprise were really this fragile, sir, she never would have left space dock. Therefore, her system's failures are not endemic to the ship, but are the result of the actions of an unknown adversary.
We have a saboteur aboard.
I believe I said that.
Gentlemen, the question is, who? I can't believe it's one of our own people.
Agreed. It must be someone from either alien delegation. Now, if the Ferengi could have bought or bribed even one of them, that's all they'd need.
Ferengi contacts have been detected on both Soleil and Antarctica, sir.
Can either of you suggest any other suspects?
You're sounding like a private eye, sir.
Inquiry. Private eye?
Why would he not know that?
I
Private
know.
consulting investigator, Data, who solves
He knew
crimes.
Yankee traders. Come on.
I know.
Most interesting occupation.
In the world of fact, probably not. However, in literature, criminal detection can be a fascinating exercise.
I love how Picard loves this so much.
Immortal Sherlock Holmes would have an interesting view of our mystery, I believe.
Lay down all
But
that
I'm afraid
pipe.
we're going to have to find our solution without history's greatest consulting detective.
Yeah, so that
They might as well say, I think we should go to the holodeck and
okay.
explore this
Whenever I
concept
watch this
further.
episode, I half expect Data to actually go to the holodeck, create Sherlock, and go, "What do you think happened?"
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's just funny.
This is the first major, like, huge, like, chunk we get of Data's, like, Brent got tired of being Data.
Yeah. Oh, very fast.
Yeah.
Because Data doesn't do very much acting wise. Data's kind of a blank slate.
Yeah.
Also, I guess people on the show, the writers of the show in general, just love Sherlock. Because, like, he comes up a lot in the show.
That
Like,
is true.
This is like the first time, but like it ends up being like a really, really major thing. Also, this scene like seems to set up, like we said, like, oh, they're going to start suspecting the Antikins or the Soleil, and it'll be like a big like, oh, it was all a misunderstanding and something else happened. But that plot stops in the scene. It doesn't really ever come up again.
Yeah, it's weird how they seem to ramp it up in a fairly, like, traditional way, but then it's just like, nope, that's it. Instead, enjoy Data smoking a pipe.
Yeah, dude.
For like 3 scenes.
And I really thought that with that scene from the Antikins that we were going to get a lot of the B plot points, because I was like, I'm in. They're talking about being gun nuts and them not being judged by a few rotten apples. I'm like, this is fucking cop talk.
We just happen to have these. There's no reason.
We just we have shanks. Who doesn't have shanks to kill?
We just drove a few star systems over. This is no big deal.
No big deal. No big deal. And then the next scene is so we had the scene with where they touch upon Sherlock Holmes, the one you played, and then we go back to Dr. Crusher, who should be like doing heavy research into how, like, maybe I should. Like, she should have checked herself into the sick bay and done a full test. But no, she's sitting at home with her fucking Snuggie on. She's literally wearing a Snuggie.
In a very comfortable dress. Yeah.
And she's like,
I'll go read.
I'll go read. I'm going to go read.
It's been a hard day.
Yeah. Forget getting medical tests. No. I may have a concussion, but who cares? I got to go snuggle up and read a good Sherlock Holmes book. And then, so you have you finally have Sherlock Holmes Data where he's smoking.
Oh yeah, pipe. I have that scene too because I really, really enjoy whenever Brent Spiner is hamming it up.
One thing is clear: almost all of the peace delegates answered our questions with lies.
Imprecise, Lieutenant. They omitted certain truths, which in itself tells us something.
We can learn something from non-disclosure?
Indubitably. My good woman.
A little click is the pipe.
It's something the captain mentioned. Sherlock Holmes. Indubitably, Data has been studying him.
Has studied, sir. Every case. As Holmes would have pointed out, during the time in question, something was afoot.
Afoot?
While both sets of delegates say they were in their quarters, our crew locator sensed them passing here and here.
That's when he spins the thing around.
Since it doesn't show where they went, we're still in the dark.
On the contrary, my dear colleague. On their return, they drew medical supplies appropriate to the treatment of minor wounds and abrasions on these life forms.
Which leaves us with only one conclusion.
Exactly. That they were too engaged in their own affairs to have disabled the ship and murdered the engineer. Given the choice, they would rather kill each other than any of us. It's elementary, my dear Riker. Sir.
So basically they're going, the entire B-plot is useless.
We skipped over the fact that poor engineer Singh is fucking dead.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Which is actually kind of a shocking moment because it's the first time in the series that anyone on the ship dies.
Yeah, it's the first. It's the first on-screen death. Yeah,
Starfleet officer. Which
it's why they have a random, instead of like Argyle coming back, they had just hired Singh and they're like, you die.
No, it's like in my notes it says I knew he was too ethnic to have a speaking role and then survive. So that's what happened.
So
it won't kill Worf, but it'll definitely kill an Indian guy.
No. Yeah.
And then with Picard, it does nothing.
Nothing.
No.
Well, he's
light touch.
Got a big dick. So this is what happens in that scene where Singh dies. Is that Wesley is being very Wesley. He's like, yeah, what if you do this and this and that? And Singh's like, yeah, that's pretty fucking cool, man. Now go back to studying, you bitch.
And then Singh does he does such a good job putting that fucker in his place.
Yeah. And then he dies. Like the only dude who puts him in his place, like, because he's like, oh, but I learned so much from being here instead of learning it from books. And he's like, I don't give a shit, dude. It's fucking protocol, dude. Just get the fuck out of your scram.
I agree, but the captain's orders. So get the fuck out of my chair.
Exactly.
And he puts him in his place and then immediately gets shocked and dies. And then Worf walks in.
It's a dramatic explosion. Yeah. Like he spins out like wrestling style and slams on the mat.
I thought he was going to go into the warp drive. Like he was going to fall into the little like crevasse.
Yeah. His head's hanging off. And then Worf had to go grab it. I love that every time. There's always that little weird elevator they have for the warp core set.
Yeah.
And it's like, it looks incredibly dangerous.
It does.
Always use
it probably was.
Yeah. Like, a bunch of cast members have lost a bunch of fingers. So Singh dies, and then we have the scene with Sherlock Holmes' Data. Yeah. And then we have the scene where Geordi's like on the console punching some numbers. You never know what these guys are doing. Like just touching LCD displays. Well, not at the time, actually.
Displays are nonsense.
Regular displays.
It's clearly just light going through some sort of plastic, and they're just touching nothing.
Also, I don't know how they fly the ship like literally when it's on manual mode, because there's no joystick, or it's just buttons.
Well, that's something that Picard will bring up actually in like a later episode, way later, where he's like, back in the day, people used to actually take direct, even when they were flying a ship manually, they would take control of it. And they used to have these propeller planes that only had one propeller moving the entire thing. The man was in control of the ship, and now the ship is in control of the man. And basically he's saying that even when you're manually controlling a ship, all you do is push in some numbers, and then it's basically telling it to go from coordinate to coordinate. Yeah. You're not really moving the ship. But there are scenes in the TNG movies where a manual steering column will pop out and then they actually grab it and do some stuff. But it's pretty rare.
I don't know, dude. I have to see these episodes. I don't believe you, dude. A bunch of button pushers. And then
it's cheaper. It's cheaper just to not have to worry about.
Does the movements of the actor match the movements of the visual effects that are happening?
Yeah.
So then Geordi's fucking with the console, and then Picard just casually puts his hand on the console, which he never does. He never leans on it. What is he, too fucking tired? Just stand up straight. He leans on the console and he boop.
It's a Riker move.
Yeah,
Riker's a leaner. Not
he
Picard.
Gets in a fallen fashion. Back to the callback, gets sucked into Picard, the entity, or the lightning bugs, as I sometimes call them. So it gets sucked into Picard, and now Picard's like, ugh, and he's like, oh, look at this body, it's a lumber, and he gets taken over. And then it cuts to a scene where the Soleil are walking down the hall, and then they're talking. One of the Soleil's talking to, I think it's Yara, and then the door opens. It's it's Antikins, and they're like, "What the fuck? What are these fuck?"
Yeah.
Oh no, it's not Yar. It's the return of Miles O'Brien.
Oh yes, it is Miles O'Brien.
For one scene.
Yeah.
Even though Miles will eventually become a much bigger character.
And he is not yet named in this episode either. He still doesn't have his name.
All he does is yell at them, "Go back here. Go back to your quarters.
Be gone, Satan." And and it's a very like Anchorman scene where he's where it's like
just yelling.
They're like yelling and like there's no actual fight. There's just like a bunch of hissing.
Growling.
It's kind of such a weird tonal shift because it's the first major death in Star Trek, and then the commercial break. Everyone's like, "Oh my god, Singh is dead." Commercial break happens, and then Picard goes, "Oh, the warp engine's back. All right, let's continue on our way." Like everyone just forgets Singh died.
Yeah,
and they're just like, "Well, what else is happening though?"
Yeah,
it's so odd.
Which makes me think, how many people die? You think on the
well, it's supposed to be a massive event. Like there will be another episode where something there's a thing that will kill a crew member in front of Picard, and Picard is incensed. It's like the most angry he's ever been on the show. And like he is furious, and it's like that's what I kind of expect. Yeah. I guess early season they just didn't, because it's a commercial break and they didn't like write the characterization past the scene. I guess they were just like, "Oh, right, but the rest of the plot is actually about this possession thing, so let's just."
It's not as bad if no one sees it.
I don't know. It's just so odd. Like I guess it's first season. They weren't as clear about where they wanted their character motivations and stuff to be and it was like a raising of the stakes that doesn't really raise any stakes because everyone kind of just ignores it. Like even when Tasha Yar starts interrogating, I think it's the Antikins about, "Well, where were you during these hours?" And they're just like, "Haha, whatever." She goes, "All right, whatever." Then she just like walks away. It's like not that big a deal for some reason, and it's kind of odd.
It is, man. And then you have the scene where Picard starts acting very weird, and like he instructs Geordi to double back their trajectory. So they double back, and he's like, Riker's like, "Are you sure we're doubling back?" And he's like, "Yeah, did I stutter, you idiot?" Of course we're going back. I'm the captain now. And so they're going back, and he's acting very weird. So then they have a sidebar meeting. So it's was it Troy, Dr. Crusher?
Yeah, Riker, Crusher, and I think Data.
Yes. Is Geordi? No, Geordi's there too. And Data might be there too. Yeah.
Data is there because he's the one who keeps saying, "Oh, he technically hasn't done anything wrong that's worthy of a mutiny."
Right. That's right. So they're planning they're kind of planning a mutiny, basically.
Yeah.
And they're like Riker's like, "Dr. Crusher, like you could basically say he's fucking crazy." And then Data's like, "Well, technically he hasn't said anything crazy, guys." And then, but everyone is like pushing blame. Like Doctor doesn't want to be the one to pull the trigger. And then she's like, "Well, you can say he's putting us in danger and then take over." And he's like, "Well, let's see what happens."
Yeah, Deanna's like, "Well, he hasn't done anything, but I'm pretty sure he's gonna."
Yeah, he's definitely gonna fuck us over.
We have to wait until it happens first, though.
And then Riker's like, "Nah, I'm not gonna do it." And then they're like, "Well,
everyone's too scared."
Yeah. And then finally they're like, "Well, we got to go confront him."
I mean, they're officers trying to follow protocol. I'll give them that.
I get it. And then they go to his quarters, and Picard's like out looking out the window, like he's never seen the space before.
Yeah, he's watching all anxious. It's like,
yeah,
you get back to that cloud.
Yeah, and then so Riker and the Doctor and Dr. Crusher are like trying to figure out how to we got to get into the medical bay and like give him a full test. I was gonna say ocular pat down. They got to give him a full like panel test and psychiatric shit. And
more of that hypnotherapy.
I know, that's sweet hypnotherapy.
That's such an 80s, 90s thing. It's like, I'm going to hypnotize you, and it's going to draw your memory.
Yeah, that's what happened. That's what happened earlier, where
to Dr. Crusher.
Crusher. Deanna Troi did hypnotism on both Worf and Crusher, and realized there was a duality happening there.
Duality of man.
Yeah. And so they're like, there's something wrong with fucking Picard, clearly. But they're like, hey, we got to get you to run these tests. And he's like, basically, it comes down to this. I'm not crazy. You're fucking crazy.
Yeah.
I'm the captain.
Yeah, I'm the captain.
Do I have to explain everything I do as a captain? And they're
like, Mr. President, we're invoking the 25th Amendment. You're crazy.
Yeah. I'm not crazy. Why are you yelling at me? No, you're yelling. No, fuck you. Get out of here. You need tests. Go get tested.
Can't impeach me.
Yeah. and so he orders them to get tested. And so they go away. They come back, and
the weird part is they actually do the tests.
Yeah, they do the tests.
They do it off screen.
Dr. Crusher comes back, and she's like, "Well, here's my test."
Yeah,
and then he's like, "Not interested."
Drive.
Yeah, not interested. And then she basically just like,
"Here's my acrylic data coin."
Yeah. She basically is just like, "You're fucking possessed, aren't you?" And then without hesitation, he's like, "Yeah, I am."
Here's the part where it's an interesting episode, but at that point, immediately Crusher should go right back to the bridge and be like, "Yeah, something's wrong.
Yeah.
We have to do this now."
But
they wait till the last moment.
Yeah,
and I don't know why.
And she's like asking all these questions. What are you? Oh, and he breaks it down, and then finally, after minutes of banter, she decides to go to the bridge, and Luke Picard follows her, and Lukey, and then she's like, "There's something fucking wrong with this dude. He's definitely fucking possessed." And then this is the old Palpatine scene, is when they're gonna restrain him, he literally does the Palpatine move where he like sends
he totally force lightnings everyone.
Lightnings
he has
everywhere.
this like really like cool speech beforehand where he's like, "Ladies and gentlemen, I have an announcement to make. I'm going to blah blah blah."
He does a Sherlock speech.
Yeah. And then it's basically, and then like when they do the lightning stuff, this happens.
He's planning to beam himself and the entity into that cloud.
The transporter need not pattern your captain into matter. We'll beam energy only, and we will become a combined energy pattern of our life forms.
Sounds like a plan.
A resignation from this command and from Starfleet has been appropriately recorded. I refuse to allow
I do love that he did that.
Yeah.
How does this resignation
the being is trying to be a nice
Captain Picard, you are now relieved of duty. I judge you to be disabled and mentally incapacitated.
Security.
Literally palpitating right now.
Yeah. Restrain the captain.
Yeah, it's again, why did you wait so long? Also, before this, the entity has a speech where he's like, "So I really, really regret that Singh had to die. I wasn't fully in control, but also I'm gonna take Picard." It's like, are you?
Yeah, but don't worry, I sent in his resignation for him. We're fine. Bye.
Yeah. And then, so when the Palpatine powers kick in, my favorite line is Deanna Troy. Is it?
Yeah, Troy. Yeah,
I keep fucking up her name, but you'll get a lot of that throughout these episodes.
That's fine.
Yeah, even in season 6.
I know. Yeah. What's this character's name? And Deanna Troy is like, she's like, "Oh, this is blinding me." And the next scene, as soon as she says that, it's Geordi, and it's almost like he looks at the camera, he gives like the Jim Halpert like look, like really.
Oh wow! That's like those scenes in Avatar where they're like, "It's so dark, I can't see," and then Toph goes, "Ha ha."
That reminds me
I'm
of
fucking blind.
Wait, like Marvin, are you aware of like Pat and Paige's like in joke about Geordi, about how he's always going, "Who said that?"
No, I'm not aware. No, I didn't know.
That would be a perfect time for a "Who said that?"
Yeah. They literally like the line. She says the line, and then they cut to Geordi going and it's a close up of his face. You're like, this guy can't see, and you're complaining that you're blinded by this. And so the captain, like, he runs to the holodeck, and he fucking dips out of the fucking Enterprise, just zaps himself out into space.
And apparently the Starfleet officer that was manning the transporter was already like pre-lightninged.
Yeah.
He was already writhing on the floor,
already
like,
knocked out.
Yeah. It's like, okay.
Also, the way they describe it makes no sense. It'll be energy only, But the whole point of the transporter is that it converts matter to energy to transport it.
Yeah, so there is
he is energy only.
But the thing
also E equals MC squared. Matter is energy. So I don't know.
Reconstruct it into the matter pattern at the other end, though. That was my interpretation of it. It's like, you know how when you begin the transporting sequence, they say energize. You turn to energy at that point, but then you don't turn back into anything later.
Why make the distinction said we're only going to send energy? Like, that's,
I don't know.
I guess that's implied.
It's for the layman's watching at home.
Yeah. Like
they don't got.
It's for when he comes back. It's for when he comes back. So then they're like, he beamed himself out. He's just been fucking around, like hanging out there for hours now. And then the console.
It's an interesting part because Riker has to take over, and Riker is now in command.
Yeah,
and it's interesting because the two people who seemed most concerned about what's going on is Riker, obviously, because he's now captain, but then also LaForge, like Geordi, because Riker is the one who's like, okay, we've been looking for him for over an hour. I don't think this is possible. I think as captain, I have to say we should go. But Geordi is the one who's very like, we're just going to leave him there. Like he's the one who's like really adamant about being the moral center for some reason in that scene.
But then Deanna also jumps in as usual.
Right. Because she goes, oh, I can sense him because I'm Betazoid bullshit.
But then she reveals that like the grand plan that the entity had didn't even fucking work.
Yeah, that entity sucks.
It's like, don't worry, we're all gonna become one in the cloud. It's gonna be fine. And then they upload and nothing fucking works. And it's like, oh shit, sorry, Picard. I guess you're just orphan energy now.
Yeah, fuck you. Why did he want Picard in the first place?
He's like, fuck, I fucked up again.
Like at first
I mix my zeros and my ones.
Yeah, like at first I thought maybe it was like, ooh, this body, we can do things in this body that we wouldn't be able to do as energy.
That's the plan. That's what I think would happen. And he's like, I can like feel things. I would imagine he'd be like, oh, food. And he like gets food and starts eating food.
You know, stuff like that. Like corporal,
this body has
pleasures.
A dick. Yeah.
Only that.
And like maybe it connects back to the B plot where they're like, oh, these Antikins and Soleil are fighting. Oh, I want to kill something. That's
exactly.
Yeah, but they don't do anything like
nothing.
He just wants to go back to the fucking cloud where he came from.
Yeah. Maybe he was like, oh, this body, I could fuck the cloud. And then he's like, nope, can't fuck it. Only have one dick, don't have the other part. And
I didn't think this through.
Yeah. And then he's like, Arrested Development, I've made a mistake.
What if it's like the entity is actually extraordinarily, this is one of the dumb ones they grabbed from this cloud.
This is the joke.
It's always the assumption that they grabbed like someone, like every entity is like smart or something, right? It's very possible they just grabbed an idiot.
It's just that cloud from the Futurama Star Trek episode.
Or it's like how there's that Robot Chicken sketch where like E.T. does go home, and then E.T., it turns out when he comes back, he's like the stupid one. It's why he couldn't speak English.
Okay, that's a
everyone's
pretty good
like,
gag.
oh, you're back.
That's
what
good
was Earth
gag.
like? And he goes, phone. And they're like, God, you still didn't learn English? Fucking idiot.
That's not bad. I'll give him props for that.
And then they're like, I don't know, we got to leave him. We got to leave the captain behind.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he's like, oh. Geordi's like, oh, my console's going nuts again. And then a P appeared in the console. And
a comical P for Picard.
Yeah. And then
why wouldn't Picard just write Picard?
Yeah, exactly. Or just use the intercom and go, hey, it's me fucking getting me in. It's so cold out here, dude. And then so they run to the holodeck and they're like, let's punch in the last coordinates, blah, 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 blah. So they're doing all these button pushing. And then this is where my theory comes in. I think this Picard is a clone.
Essentially, yes.
Oh, yeah. Well, that goes into a larger perspective of transporters or death machines.
Yeah, there's like this big old debate surrounding transporter technology in general because there are people who argue that the fact that you are deconstructed and reconstructed into like a set pattern like is essentially killing you and replacing you each time.
Yeah,
it's like the Prestige.
Yeah, exactly.
It's exactly like there's
Spoilers
a great
for the
video.
Prestige.
Yeah,
oh shit.
Sorry. Well, look, this movie's been out for a long time. If you haven't seen it,
so basically they rolled back Picard to a save state that they had already in the console.
That's literally what happened. Yeah. That's how they explain it too. Yeah. There's a great episode, a YouTube video actually, by CGP Grey. It's about like the mortality of transporters, and it goes into a lot of detail about it. But basically, what happens is that like you can try to explain as much of it as you want to, but they are definitely not just sending your energy. They are tearing you apart like piece by piece and reconstructing you, because like there are times where transporter accidents have either split people or merged people, and that isn't possible if you're doing the exact same amount of energy, right? Like the exact same amount of energy, like matter is conserved. You can't like just reform it into more energy or more mass. Like there's conservation of energy. So if a new person is created, that means some matter was lost. Or if two people are split, it means extra energy was accidentally added. So people are definitely dying every time they're transported. Yeah. And it's, I don't know.
Dying.
Yeah. And it's like a type of thing where I always like, there's a character that'll eventually come up, Barkley, who is like the kind of like
Charles Barkley.
Yep.
Yes, Charles Barkley eventually shows up in TNG, and he's like the kind of prissy guy who's like always very nervous. And one of his big pet peeves is that he actually addresses this directly. He's like, I think transporters are incredibly dangerous. And everyone tells him, don't worry, it's the safest way to travel. But he's rightfully worried because it's probably ending everyone's lives every time they go in the transporter.
I could totally see Charles Barkley as a guy who's super afraid of transporters.
It's like when the Harlem Globetrotters showed up in Gilligan's Island. And then they left, and they left all those people there. They're like, fuck these Gilligan bitch. We're out.
Wait, did the Globetrotters show up and then just left?
Yeah.
Is that what happened?
Yeah. Constantly throughout the run of the series, people would show up like, this person showed up, and then they would leave and never send help. Never send help.
I didn't watch enough Gilligan's Island to realize this. So, like, what was the usual way in which they lived? Would they just leave on a goddamn boat?
Well, different ways, like submarines, or like, this, like, it's just weird things. Where the fuck
does submarine come from?
We should do a Gilligan's Island podcast.
I do remember.
We should do Gilligan's.
No,
Island.
I do because I do remember as a kid there were actually some episodes of Gilligan's Island where they actually liked being on the island and didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
So I think that ended up being part of the premise, where they're like, our old lives back in mainland were kind of empty and hollow. We kind of like our new lives here on this weird island.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I mean, the professor was fucking both those chicks. Of course he didn't want to leave, dude.
This is really off topic at this point, but I love how there was a version of the theme song that went, the movie star and the rest, and there's only two people left.
I know.
Oh God.
Well, they actually petitioned to get their characters mentioned in theme songs.
Yeah, that's why they just had to like hastily, just scrambling Professor Ann,
Marianne.
Oh my God.
Old TV's weird.
Yeah. So this is a clone of Picard that shows up, and he's like, what happened? Because he came back in like safe mode.
Yeah.
So he's like,
exactly.
what happened? And they're like, what do you mean what happened? A lot of fucking shit happened, dude.
Yeah.
We got the fart cloud that took you over, and they're not explaining anything. They're like, well, we're just glad to have you back.
And then Tasha comes in like, oh my God, you guys. Oh hey, Captain, good to have you back.
They're cooking people, and Riker's like, shut up,
literally.
Dude.
There's no mistaking what's going on.
They literally were cooking animals.
Because they found a pool of blood.
Yeah, there's a pool of blood, and what they're eating looks a lot like a fucking like one of the Soleils. And then Riker's like, shut up, and the captain's back. Be glad. And he's like, oh, glad to see you're back, Captain. Yeah. And he's like, be glad that I didn't fucking take over, because we'd be fucked. And they're all thank God you're back. We missed you, sure missed you. And then they're like, yeah. So anyway, those Antikins are cooking fucking Soleans.
Like, what are we gonna do about this race war?
And then Picard's like, I'm gonna take a nap. You guys figure it out.
I'm tired.
And like, fuck this, Riker. We're
still gonna go to Parliament. I guess we're still considering them as part of potential members of the Federation still at this point.
Yeah. And then we never solve. I was like, I for a minute thought like, did I fast forward it? Like, did I use a little like move 10? You know how you have that button that moves at 10 seconds?
Yeah.
I was like, I probably hit that on the keyboard. And then I went back and I was like, nope, it just ended.
No, it just ends on a comedy note about eating another race.
Yeah,
and that's
they just use race war as a punchline, and then I wish they would have really leaned into it and shown you Jean-Luc like getting into bed and like and looking really satisfied with himself.
Yeah.
They show the whole process. He switches into his pajamas.
Yeah, and
they look exactly the same as his uniform. The pajamas
look like Uncle Scrooge McDuck nightcap and goes to bed.
And with the candle with the finger hole.
Yeah, he goes, all's well that ends well.
Yeah.
Just like in Sherlock Holmes.
And he reads a Sir Arthur Conan Doyle book and goes to sleep.
Try to fall asleep. Yeah. Oh my god,
man, this episode was fucking nutty.
It was really a nutty episode. Yeah. There's another a special thing about this episode. Did either of you guys notice it compared to all the other episodes before it?
Go for it. I don't know what you're talking about.
It is the only episode so far where it took place entirely on the Enterprise. It is what is classically known in Star Trek as a bottle episode or a ship episode.
So,
which is
there you go.
There's a reason why this episode seems kind of slapped together. It's because it is. Star Trek is a fairly expensive show to make because there's a lot of special effects and there's a lot of actors. Yeah. And there's a lot of the writers are generally I believe from what I understood.
It's like they wish they had the holodeck and they were just writing for the holodeck without not having the holodeck.
Sometimes that's why. Yeah. So, and holodeck episodes are also often episodes where it's like, what's in the studio next over? Do they have some sets we can just use right now?
Oh, they got a detective's office.
Yeah, let's just use that really quick.
Oh, they have like an English street.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, it's interesting because it's an expensive show to make, so they actually had to schedule lots of episodes where because they had to make 26 of these fucking things a year. That's a lot.
It is actually.
So like modern Star Trek, like the Discovery and Picard and whatever, it's like 8 to 10 episodes a year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, granted, it's a lot more like higher budget now in terms of like the special. It's like movie special effects now. And even then, like they had to tone down the number of episodes. Whereas back in the TNG days, they were still going by like what networks were expecting to have for a season. So they had to have all these throwaway bottle episodes. They're just like, just write an episode really quick where they're just all on this fucking ship and something happens. And then like the idea is supposed to be that hopefully 44 minutes in, like you don't realize you're still on the ship.
It is a pretty sloppily plotted episode. Yeah. It's probably the sloppiest plot we've seen so far.
It's why I believe that like the B plot had nothing to do with it. B plot's literally just to fill in time. Yeah. Like they had nothing to do with anything. It didn't even metaphorically connect anything, but at least we got Data Sherlock Holmes out of it.
Okay,
probably the best part.
Okay, I wanted to bring this up really when we were on it, but then we moved on. But now that we're back on it, I'm going to bring it up. Like, I know that you said that you like Data hamming it up, and yeah, it's fun to watch Brent Spiner hamming it up, but I just have this problem with Data suddenly becoming this human.
So there's an explanation.
The mannerisms that he adopts are like based entirely on like Sherlock Holmes like tropey depictions as opposed to his actual textual representation.
Well, the explanation is that Data is very good at mimicry. So there's a good chance that he read up on Data and probably he read up on Sherlock Holmes.
Well, then that's the other thing too, because like all the mannerisms that he adopts look like they are based upon like video or like performances.
That's what I was saying.
And so that's why I was about to ask you guys, has he seen the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes?
It's possible. Also, he's
definitely there's definitely like there's definitely like voiceover that's going in his head. He's like, if I gotta fucking punch one of these lizard peoples, I'm gonna and he starts doing the voiceover.
Yeah.
Kneel down. Punch to the face, then uppercut to the belly.
Yeah, palm to the rib. Crack a rib. Don't break it.
But then, like while I was thinking that, I started to just think like, well, I think Jude Law would make a pretty good Data.
Oh yeah.
I don't know where I just had the thought.
I don't know. Just put Jude Law in that makeup and just have him just be the flat. Sometimes Jude Law can just be super flat. And there you go.
What if David never watched the Sherlock Holmes with Robert Downey or with Benedict Cumberbatch, and he only watched the Will Ferrell John C. Reilly version.
It becomes very unfunny.
yeah, very unfunny. Oh man!
Spoilers: that movie's awful.
yeah. Don't watch that.
It's like Will Ferrell and what's his name?
John C. Reilly.
John C. Reilly were just high one day, and we're like, dude, remember Sherlock Holmes?
He's like, you know what we should do? We should totally make like the Sherlock Holmes movie.
Oh yeah, that'll be really funny. And then they come up with the whole idea in 10 minutes, and they're like, "Does that producer guy we know? Can we just make? Yeah, let's just do it. Let's just do it.
No, I think so. How I think these movies happen is the same way I think compilation albums happen, which I know it's the case, which is like, man, we owe this studio or this record label a fucking album. It's like this we do. We do a compilation album and we add 2 new songs, and technically that's a new album, and we're good. Let's be done with the contract and move on.
That's the Adam Sandler deal with Netflix, yeah, where he's just shitting out movies. It's
like, man, we owe the studio this movie. What does Tim got? And he's like, well, Tim's got this fucking really stupid Sherlock Holmes idea, and he's like, guess we go to London. Fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah, originally it wasn't supposed to be Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly. It was actually supposed to be 2 other, if I remember correctly now, it was actually supposed to be 2 other actors. And they dropped out, and then John C. Reilly and Will Ferrell were just slotted in, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
And I think John C. Reilly was originally supposed to be Sherlock, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. It was supposed to be like an actual serious version of it, and then they're like, "Nah, let's put bees."
Well, it's Will Ferrell now. We can't make it serious anymore. Because John C. Reilly has like Walk Hard, right? Walk Hard is a weird mix of like being super super campy, but also like sort of like you're supposed to sort of feel sorry for the character, even though it's like,
well, even Will Ferrell is capable of a decent dramatic performance.
Yeah, but I think it's just that the marketing for a John C. Reilly is that, hey, he could technically be an Academy Award winner, whereas no one would ever think that of Will Ferrell.
I'm still waiting for my Nova movie.
I mean, that'd be
Where's my Nova movie with John C. Reilly?
I mean, technically, Glenn Close is Nova Prime in that movie, in the movies, and well, also I guess Thanos. Spoilers if you haven't seen Infinity War yet. I guess the Nova Prime is all of Nova. The planet's dead,
except for John C. Reilly.
So I don't know.
Yeah,
that was a very on topic podcast.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Anyway. So, yeah, please help Ricard. Please
Palpatine powers. That's the best part of this episode. This is blinding me.
Hard cut to Jordy.
Yeah,
the editor was having fun there.
Yeah. Out of 10, this bitch. Out of 10 Enterprises, I would give it. Look, this is a run of the mill episode. It had a lot of funny moments and a lot of stupid moments, but it didn't. I don't have any need to rewatch this episode again. Oh yeah. So I'm gonna go with 5. Run of the mill, middle of the road. It's like a C.
Yeah. What about you, Dan?
What's our policy on like partial numbers?
Oh, do whatever you want. Doesn't matter. This is like Bullseye.
0.5. Yeah.
All right. 6.
Do like a 6.9423. I don't care.
It was a 6.6.
Oh, 6. You're going Richter scale on this thing.
How devastating is this episode?
All my shelves fell down. That's how
during
good
the Palpatine scene. I give it like a 6. Yeah, it's I don't feel offended watching it. But you know, it's weird, right? Because technically, I would say the last episode is technically better, where no one has gone before. But the very, very annoying part is because Wesley basically takes over the episode.
Yeah.
I don't ever really want to watch that episode. It's the worst Wesley episode, in my opinion, because it's just like...
Definitely one of the worst, yeah.
Wait. It doesn't get worse? Because I was expecting it to get worse with Wesley.
To me, that's the worst, personally. Okay. Because... from a writing perspective, it makes not just the episode about Wesley, it makes the entire series about Wesley.
True.
That really, really annoys me. Especially Wesley is the like least interesting character.
Yeah, especially if this is all you've seen so far. They are giving you every indication that he is going to be like the point of the show, and that's that's a huge problem.
He's Skywalker.
Yeah, but like.
You find out that Luke Picard fucking sired this fucker, and he's the goddamn Messiah.
Yeah. It's like it's like
Anakin. Yeah, he's Anakin.
Yeah. Oh no,
it's like
way more Anakin. Definitely way more of an Anakin situation.
At least Anakin, like not to defend the prequels.
At least Anakin fucks, dude.
Yeah. also,
you don't
like
know what
Anakin,
you do with the Traveler.
He has some internal character conflicts by the second movie, right?
Yeah.
Like he wants to fuck. Also, he wants to destroy all the people who killed his mom,
and also sand.
Also, he hates sand.
Yeah.
Also, he's a Skeletor hand now.
It gets everywhere. I do agree with Anakin in that point that I don't like sand. It's coarse. It gets everywhere.
No, it's
I love sand. I love when it gets in my shoe. And I have to,
like in my mind, that's the most relatable he ever got.
Yeah. You're like, I get why he hates the world because he was raised in sand.
Yeah, the part where he goes, now this is pod racing. I go, I don't know what that's about, Anakin.
Yeah. Like I can relate to the sand shit.
Yeah.
Or the part where he commits genocide on sand people. I don't agree with that.
Like when he kills a bunch of kids, it's like I'd like whack him around a little, but I wouldn't kill him.
Yeah. I killed everyone, even the children.
Oh man.
The funny part is he does it twice. He does it in the third movie. Kills all the children again.
Yeah. He's a goddamn killer of kids.
Yeah.
Kid killer.
And Wesley's worse.
Yeah.
Wesley's definitely got some child murder in his future.
Yeah, dude.
It's only a matter of time.
Well, that was Lonely Among Us. Pretty run-of-the-mill bottle episode. It's pretty Next episode is an exciting episode. It's Justice, which is Star Trek's getting very sexy again.
It is a pretty sexy episode.
It's a very sexy, deadly episode.
I was dreading watching this episode again, and I don't know if I was right to do so. I honestly don't. I don't know.
Yeah, I will say that a lot of people cite, just as a minor spoiler, a lot of people cite it as the episode of Wesley that they hate the most. I don't agree. And when we get to that episode, we'll get to why. Because I honestly think, from a writing perspective, the Wesley is not the issue.
Yeah, he is. Wesley himself is less flawed in that episode. I'll give you that.
Yeah, it's not. Wesley's not the issue with that episode. The episode actually isn't that big an issue. It's actually kind of fun. It reminds me a lot of TOS. I think partially because they had the costume designer for TOS come back to do all of the alien
is
costumes.
That why? Because it's so distinctly like old school alien shit.
But also it's like TOS had a lot of like, everyone's wearing sexy clothes episodes, and this is basically happening again.
Booty shorts.
Yeah, lots of booty shorts.
This podcast should have been called Wesley's Not the Problem.
Wesley's Not the Problem cast.
Yeah.
I am eager to get away from the portion of the show where we have to just address him all the time.
Well, I think we are. I think honestly, the last episode we did, the where no one has gone before, that's to me personally, that's the peak of worst Wesley. And it's not anything the character does. It's the way the writers choose to portray him. But eventually we're going to start getting away from that. And I think that's just fine. I think once Wesley becomes more of a side character, because he will become central again in some, like technically he's sort of a central point in the next episode.
In fact, he very much
not
is.
As big.
But we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Yeah. Anyway, that'll be next time on the next episode of Newbie Star Trek. In fact, if you guys have been enjoying the episodes of Newbie Star Trek, head on over to newbiestartrek.com. That's NEWBIE StarTrek.com if you'd like to see more episodes. Or you can visit us on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or Twitter. We're on all of the Zoomer portals that all these Zoomers use. I actually don't know if Zoomers even care about Facebook, actually.
I don't think they do.
More of a millennial thing.
No, they don't.
What's a Zoomer?
Zoomers are the current kids.
Zoomers Zoomers are boomers that got rockets.
I thought if they play Fortnite, they're Zoomers.
I thought you were talking about people who Zoom a lot, like are on Zoom, and they're like,
oh yeah,
I listen. We have Zoom parties where we listen to podcasts.
Well, several Zoomers are most definitely being forced to be Zoomers right now.
Yeah. They have to Zoom around on Zoomers in order to Zoom with their other Zoomers, fellow Zoomers. It's
and some problem. Teachers. Some teachers sprinkle in some teachers. Yeah. They're usually at this point they're either millennials or Gen Xers.
Yeah. Oh man, that's weird, huh? There's a lot of teachers that are just millennials.
Yeah, man.
It's a really weird feeling.
There are so many of people of our generation like inserting memes into their classrooms as we speak. Just think about that.
Yeah.
You know what always like kind of scares me is that 1995 is 25 years ago. And I go, holy shit.
I think it only scares you now for this year.
Today, since we're on this topic, today I was talking to my kid and he said something and I'm like, I don't fucking believe you. I don't fucking believe you. And then instantly, like, I had a flashback to like doing the same thing to my dad, and I was like, oh my god, I gotta call and apologize.
It's happening.
I gotta call and apologize.
Oh,
because I'm like, you're fucking lying to my face. I know you broke that thing. And he's like, no, not me, not this guy. Like, who do you think did it? The fucking cats? They don't have opposable thumbs. Oh man.
Yeah, that's good. Generational conflict.
Yeah, dude. I gotta call my dad and apologize. I'll do it tomorrow.
Well, also we have another podcast, the Fugitive Frames Film Podcast.
Oh yeah,
which is more of a movie based podcast. Ricardo, do you wanna tell us how it goes on? It's simple.
If you like movies and you like movie nerds talking, then just head over there and listen to one of the episodes. We got a little bit of everything.
Don't worry, you'll hear a completely different set of voices.
Yeah. We usually have a guest. It's us three and a guest, and we do cover many different topics, from horror stuff to streaming recommendations to we're going on deep dives on certain things like the canon films and stuff like that. We have one episode up for canon films.
Neil Breen.
But yeah, we're doing Neil Breen. That's going to be coming up soon. But our next episode, by the time this airs, should be the psychological horror episode. So
with our good old friend Rick.
Nice.
Old Ricksky business.
Rick and Ricardo.
Yeah.
And Marvin's there going, oh, I'll try to keep up. Because you guys are more of horror experts than I am. So
we're not experts in anything, man.
Yeah.
Spoilers. That's why we're newbie.
Sinister.
Hashtag newbie. Newbie everything.
There is no Bugul in that episode.
If you guys like what we're doing and you like the sweet, smooth taste of... No, I'm not going to do it this episode. I'm going to give you guys a break. I won't do the ease plug.
You have to force ease to come to us.
Hey.
They have a taste of it now.
Hey. If you like the smooth taste of indica, or you're into sativas, you like some sherbet, some espresso snowflakes, some sour diesel, whatever you're into, whatever your taste is. You like gummies, you like sodas that have marijuana infused in them. Ease has got everything. You sign up and look, tell you what, if you want to sign up and get $20 into your pocket right now, this is what you do. You find me on Twitter. It's my full name, @Ricardo Ultraras. Find me on Twitter and say, hey, I want your fucking ease discount code. Send it to me, your personal ease discount code. I'm going to send you the code. You get $20, I get $20, and we both have a great time. And we'll start it that way. And then if you like what Ease is giving you, man, you email them, go, hey, these fuckers are always talking about you. They love Star Trek and they love Ease.
This is literally code Wooly M.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, Ricardo, you never got back to us with the homework. Did you ever find a Star Trek brand of?
Oh, I didn't do that homework. I apologize for that. I apologize. You know what? This is a cliffhanger episode. Another cliffhanger
it's all right.
episode.
It's another week of Skywalker.
We'll have to postpone your Employee of the Month award.
I know. Another week of Skywalker. And a Skywalker OG. That's the one you want.
Okay, got
Skywalker OG. Next week we'll talk about whether there's a Star Trek strain or not.
All right.
If I had to guess, it's probably indica. You know, it's very cerebral. It's like you're in your head. But you know, we may be surprised, and it's a sativa, which is my jam. But anyway. Hit me up on Twitter. Let me know if you want that sweet discount, and maybe we'll get Ease to sponsor this podcast because that would be amazing.
Yeah,
or anybody. Bud Light, fuck it, we'll take your money. Bud Light, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Also, last plug. We have another YouTube channel. The YouTube channel where we put up video game LPs and also sometimes reviews and compilations and little little mini bites of fun stuff we've done. It is called Fugitive Games.
Yeah.
I am actually quite happy about some of our upcoming content because right now we're finishing off Max Payne 3, which is a lot of fun. But we also just started Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, which is Dan and I, both of us, one of our favorite games of all time.
You know what? I'm very, very bummed out that I didn't get on that just to watch you guys play. I should have. We discussed this. We discussed this episode. We discussed this game. Sorry, on a film podcast.
That's true. We did. Yeah.
And now I'm Phoenix curious.
Well, maybe in a future. We could, let's talk about it.
But listen to these episodes. They're fun.
In the meantime, you can watch our episodes too. There's 2 already available.
Yeah, there's 2 up. At the time of this recording, there'll probably be 4 up in total.
Judge our acting.
At the time of this release, I should say. But also, by Halloween, Ricardo and our other piece of shit friend Marcel, they're going to...
God damn it, we only shit on Marcel, dude.
Marcel's a great guy. Marcel has actually been putting in a lot of work into editing these episodes for our channel as well. Usually the channel updates from Monday through Friday, but with Ricardo and Marcel's help, especially Marcel doing a lot of editing, he's been really putting in the work. We're going to have some content coming up as long as we can on Saturdays and Sundays. I say as long as we can because I don't want to lock Ricardo or Marcel into a schedule that they can't, we all have personal bandwidth. I want it to be more casual, but whenever they can, they'll be putting up some fun stuff.
Gotta have bandwidth for that Skywalker. Am I right?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm actually pretty stoked about the first thing they recorded. That's the spooky thing that's coming up on Halloween. That'll be the very first episode on the channel. Also, I forgot to mention, my partner Sarah joined us on the Phoenix Wright LP because we kind of needed a third voice actor because there's a shit ton of voices.
There sure are.
So even when it was supposed to be that I was supposed to play Phoenix the entire time, I ended up having to play at least one other character because there was just too many voices happening. So there's a lot going on. It's a very big cast of characters and it's a lot of fun. And we're doing kind of like a fast run of it because everyone who's into Phoenix Wright generally knows the story. So this is more of just like, here's just a big fun LP of us voice acting and having fun and enjoying the story. And Sarah had never seen it before.
Yeah, so it's kind
Newbie
of Phoenix Wright for her.
Yeah, exactly. It's Newbie Phoenix Wright. So that's one part of the thing that's fun. Sarah would actually talk to me a little bit about it when we're not recording and be like, I can't believe that's the thing that happened with Maya.
Oh, that
in court. Oh. She was freaked out. She was like, what?
I can't tell you how happy that makes me.
She was like, a lot of it's kind of predictable. And then you go, what?
Oh, yeah.
So that's been a lot. You can catch that at Fugitive Games on YouTube. Or if you just want to type in a URL in your URL field, just type in fugitive.games. That's the actual URL. .games is the domain. So
fantastic.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us. It's been a fun podcast. Lonely Among Us is a standard episode, but this was not a standard podcast. Ha ha ha. Anyway, next episode's going to be Justice. That's going to be a lot of fun. I'm actually looking forward to that episode a lot because having seen it again in retrospect, I think it's a lot more fun than I initially gave it credit for when I think about it. But having rewatched it,
now there's a lot more interesting. It's way more interesting than I remember. I'll give it that.
Yeah. So until next time, everybody, please take care. I've been Marvin. This has been Ricardo and Dan, and we'll see you guys next time. Have a great day.
Stay cool, everybody.
A Skywalker brand.
Ease. Sponsor us. We need the money.
We need the money.
What is the money, Ease?
Where's the money?
We care for nothing.
Oh, God.